Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're watching in the world. Welcome along to TTL F1, the second round of the season, which takes us to the Spanish Grand Prix. And tonight, it's a little bit different. We're not into the race just yet. This will be the practice session for the Spanish Grand Prix in this stream, and then we'll set up a separate stream for qualifying and the race. Should give us a chance to see what the drivers are thinking, what strategies they're planning for tonight, and also trying to get a little bit of a chat with some of the drivers ahead of tonight's race. My name is Kieran McGinley, and joining me in the commentary box is Mr. James here. James, how are you tonight?
I'm doing really good, Kieran. I cannot wait to see how this practice session is going to unfold. But more importantly, how are you doing?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm not too bad, actually. It's a new way of streaming. It's a new system. We actually have, James, a sort of director who's telling us what to do, what graphics to show, and all that lovely stuff. So, yeah, I can't wait to see how this all turns out. So, fingers crossed, everything works without a hitch. The most important thing, though, is, James, that I'm not in charge of the thumbnail anymore, so it's going to be correct all the time. It's going to be on time. It's going to be all this lovely stuff that I don't have to do anymore. So, hooray.
Puts the pressure off. It really does put the pressure off.
It does, and we head to the Spanish Grand Prix, which of course 16 corners around this track, with that chicane added in. It's one of those tracks, James. I was talking about this the other day, actually. How it's one of those tracks that you need a balanced setup. I was talking to this with Aidan in the Esports Mini League last night. It's one of those tracks you really have to fine-tune the setup. You've got to find the perfect compromise. There's long mid-speed corners which rely heavily on the aero downforce, so it's going to be a little bit of a headache for those drivers heading into this practice session, but all the while getting that perfect setup will be crucial.
It's going to be a real tricky night. I wouldn't like to be in their position first and foremost. I salute everyone going around out on track. As you say, Spain, 16 corners. DRS straight, one down the start-finish straight, one down towards turn 10 as well. And you talk about fine-tuning the setup. This practice session is the ideal conditions to fine-tune that setup, get maybe a little bit of last-minute practice in, maybe even getting your first couple of laps in if you've decided to leave practice way too late in the day. But obviously we're going to be seeing this here. And looking at the lobby that we've got, oh my god, Ash Best is here.
Yeah, one of the new signings there for basically one of the Toro Rossos. So hopefully all 20 planned out there. We're actually quite lucky now to have those 20 drivers, which those 20 drivers, which we're actually quite lucky now to have those 20 drivers, which Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. You've not got deja vu. The stream did go down, and that was on my end, so apologies about that. But we're now jumping straight into the practice session here today. Of course, a non-compulsory session for the drivers in TTL F1 League 1 to get their setups fine-tuned. 45-minute session coming up for you here tonight. My name is Kieran McGinley, and joining me in the commentary box for this one, for this first ever stream practice session, is the lovely Mr. James Head. James, good to see you again. How are you again?
I'm doing really well, Kieran. How are you again?
Yeah, I'm really good. Hopefully it holds out this time, but nothing like pre-season and first race nerves where it's all new and everything, and obviously my internet has to pack up very momentarily, which was a very odd feeling. However, we are here now. 45-minute practice session is live now, and it's a chance then, James, for those last-minute tweaks. And just as I was saying in the earlier stream about how this track is very balanced, you've got to get the setup perfect here. Just how crucial will these next 45 minutes be?
These next 45 minutes will be the difference, I think, between winning a race and losing a race. It is simple as that. Honestly, I think the drivers out on track that we've got here tonight, we should be getting the first couple out on track very soon. But just speaking about setups, you've got to try and maintain that perfect setup throughout. And there will be last-minute changes in this practice session. You will see a lot of going in, coming out of the pit lane and really tweaking those setups. And I feel for the drivers out on track, it is going to be a real challenge tonight. Not only because it's Spain, but because it is pretty much the second race of the season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's maybe the second race of the season, but it is the first time we're streaming on a very different way here. So welcome along if you have joined us for practice. Good to have you along for this one. 45-minute session coming up. And of course, it's 45 minutes, James, because this simulates the 50% tyre wear, which is really ideal for these drivers because now they'll know what their setups are going to do for these tyres. The only problem is that it's a green track, so they're going to have to work hard to rubber in that track. The longer this session goes on, obviously, the better it will get.
Yeah, the better it will get as they go through the session. Of course, we're not expecting the drivers to set lightning quick times within this practice session at all. You probably won't get an indication of qualifying pace either as a result of this. But what it does do is simulate that 50% race distance, and I think it is important to recognise that these drivers will be used to by now 50% race distances around here, but some of them might not necessarily won't be, and that's why this 45-minute session is ideal for really seeing who's got the balls out on track.
Absolutely, as Chappellele now makes his way all the way down towards turn 1, and if I'm not mistaken, it is an open practice session, so if you are a driver in TTL F1 League 1 and you've missed the 7 o'clock start, not to worry, you can jump in whenever you can into your car, as Maze has just done. I believe he's going in for a couple of laps, why not? Yeah, it is an open session, so you can just join in whenever you want to, as long as you're a member of the league, of course. You can't just join in if you're not a member, so we shall see how that goes out. But yeah, that takes us up to 11 drivers at this moment in time, James, and it's a pretty good turnout for a practice session, I have to say.
Fantastic turnout. I mean, I was doing the test for TTL F2 and I think we only got about 8 or 9 drivers for that. So 11 drivers here really comes to show the commitment, I think, here tonight. And Chappellele is currently going round out on track. He's the first one out on a lap, 52.7 through the middle sector for the German. He's looking good on a lap, and opposed to the hard compound tyres that's shown on your left-hand side of the screen, he's on a set of mediums.
Yeah, medium tyres for Chappellele as he winds down the lap then through the final couple of corners into 14 and 15, onwards then towards turn 16, who will be setting the first lap in a streamed practice session here in TTL F1 League 1, and it is a 120.2. And remember, it's not like qualifying this one. The track starts off as green here, so the drivers will have to do multiple laps to get the track rubbered in, and only towards the end of the session we may see some qualifying runs, as Carlsbury has joined the practice session. As I say, it is an open practice session. You can join whenever you like. Just because you missed the start does not mean you can't join in and get into the car. Sometimes you have teams in real life decide they show up in practice about 20 minutes in, so you never know. We might see even more drivers turn out.
I think we will see the drivers turn out, and just to speak about the point of the timings currently that are being set out on track, these are probably about 3 or 4 seconds off what you would expect in qualifying, because these drivers have got to go around multiple times out on the track, try and get the tyres up to temperature, and try and get the track up to temperature as well. In terms of the times, 20.2 for Schiaparelli is a very good time, and he's about 6/10 ahead of Recon, who's on a set of hard compound tyres. And funny enough, actually, he's the quickest of the hard runners. Carlsberg third, Toxic fourth, Navy fifth, Phil Warren in sixth, Cass in seventh, but it's still early days.
It is still early days. Obviously, Ashbest, Rafa, Leon Bentley and Sean all yet to set lap times, as well as Carlsbury, who is just getting into the car and registered up, and hopefully he joins the right car. There is a way you can do it once the session has started. You just have to hover over, spectate, and then take over, I think it is, or join session, something like that. Or take control, that's it, that's the one. As Ashbest has now set a lap time 1:22.2, and you can tell here 1:20.0 so far is our fastest lap time. I'm expecting then the pole position time to be somewhere maybe in the 1:16s, possibly pushing on for a 1:15. That's what I'm expecting here tonight. And of course these are the medium tyres, which are around about, I would say, about 6 to 8 tenths off the delta of the soft tyres. And speaking of which, Rafa has just come across the line, 1:19.5 on a set of those hard tyres. And of course this track is only going to get quicker and quicker. One benefit of these practice sessions here, James, is that we'll try and get some drivers into the commentary box, hopefully while they're not out on track, because that would really be me, wouldn't it? We already know that some drivers are, like myself, can't multitask. We can't speak and talk. It's just not, it's not worth it. But hopefully we'll get some drivers in once they've completed a couple of runs and see what they're thinking and feeling about tonight. And yeah, it should give it a really a different feel, and it should actually encourage people to come in and set some practice times, even if they don't stick around for the full practice session. At least they'll have some times down on the board and seeing what their pace is like. The only problem though, James, is that you might be revealing a little too much to your rivals.
You might be revealing a bit too much to your rivals, but I think it is very instinctive, I think, to see how these drivers cope with a driver interview. It is like a press conference in real life. These drivers will be put under pressure. They'll be scrutinised, essentially, by us, especially by me, because I will ask some very tough questions. But I don't want to be like a scrupulous boss or anything like that, but I just want to ensure that everyone gets a fair chance, and hopefully we get to see a lot of drivers coming in for the driver interviews. I know Toxic mentioned to me he wanted an interview, as did Warren, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think Recon might be an option as well if we get the chance. And the weird thing is that I normally host the party, and it is James that it's James hosting the party tonight, so that he can invite drivers without me having to go into the PS menu and block off all the sound, all that lovely sound and sights of these cars going round the track. So once obviously we get to a certain point, we'll start inviting drivers in and having a chat with them as Sean comes towards the line to set his first lap time in this practice session, 1:21.6 from the Haas driver on those hard tyres.
Yeah, not too bad of a lap there from Sean. Quicker than Dill Warren at this stage, but don't really take this for lightly, because obviously these times are going to get quicker and quicker and quicker as the session progresses. And you never know, you might actually see drivers out on the set of soft compound tyres to really try and get into a simulation of a qualifying lap. It's very different to see Lando Norris, by the way, out on track. It's actually Cosby that's out on track. Lando Norris still on the left-hand side. Quite strange.
It is quite strange, yes. But hopefully, I wonder if the stat will actually update. However, yeah, that's a little bit of a visual bug, but that definitely is Carlsbury just in Lando Norris's lid. That's the only issue if you join partway through, is that you don't get your own lid, which well, I guess that makes sense. If you just turn up and haven't got your equipment with you, then yeah, I guess that does make sense. But yeah, Carlsbury there now onto a flying lap, and hopefully you'll be joining us for the season as well. Don't forget, next week will be the British Grand Prix, round number 3, this time next week, where hopefully we'll have pretty much the same setup. If all goes well tonight, we do have our lovely graphics as well, and hopefully we'll be able to show them off to you at some point in these practice sessions and in the qualifying session as well. Because they're two separate streams, you might be a bit of a deja vu, but we're so eager to show you these graphics that we're going to do it anyway.
We are going to do it anyways, and there's nothing like trying it out and seeing how it progresses, because I think honestly this innovation really going to come about, and with the graphics especially, we are just taking a viewing on TTTV to the next level.
Absolutely. Recon then is backing off, and one thing as well is that the drivers will be able to try out is their race simulation as well. They can get a chance to see what the tyre wear is like and see how these conditions are going to play into force. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a kick of the teeth if we have a dry session in practice, and then when we get to the race, it's rain. All of that hard work, 45 minutes, will be to waste. But Recon, wow, he managed to hold that together through turn 2 there, opposite lock and a half there on those hard tyres. But yeah, as you can see, he's still going for it, still out there, and this is their chance now for a bit of race sim and just to get a little bit of consistency under their belt.
Yeah, consistency is very key, I think, towards this track as well. We've got 16 corners awaiting the drivers out on track tonight, and it bears into comparison. Spain always produces a good race, and as you say, I hope to God we don't see a wet race. I've had enough of them in League of Europe. We had a wet race in Spain for League of Europe. I don't want another one. Please. Don't do this to me.
Shafalele across the line then to start another lap on those medium tyres. 1:19.8 is his quickest so far. We've got Recon there in third place, just making his way in towards turn 13. We've got Leon Bentley in fourth place there as Carlsberg has gone, Carlsbury fifth fastest, with Carlsberg in sixth. You'd think there's an R in the name, so that actually would be easier to spot the difference, but no, apparently not if you're me.
Carlsbury is coming around the final corner. Yeah, not setting a lap there, 22.2. But out on track, everyone looking like they're within 1.9 seconds of each other, and it'll get even closer in qualifying, so I'm excited to see how this session progresses. Absolutely.
Rafa is still on top at this moment in time. By the way, if you did miss last time out in Bahrain, well, where on earth were you? You missed out on a Mercedes 1-2. Yeah, I know, that sounds strange, right? But it was Thomas leading Warren across the line with Carlsberg there in third place. So, well, the strange thing about after the first round of the season is you can go through the standings from the last race, and then you don't really need to go through the driver standings. It's pretty much the same. But I don't think, off the top of my head, I'm trying to think if anybody got the fastest lap of the race.
Carlsberg.
Oh, it was Carlsberg. Yeah, that's right, because he scored 16 points. So that is the only difference. But, yeah, it does lead into it. Whilst we're here then, James, we might as well show off the driver standings as Rafa's just gone that little bit quicker, 1:19.534. Thomas is at the top of the standings on 25 points with Warren there in second place, Carlsberg third, with Carlsbury in fourth, Recon in fifth, Shafalele sixth, with Lighty in seventh, Toxic in eighth, Sean in ninth, and Leon, of course, rounds out that top 10. And so it was a pretty interesting race in Bahrain. It was more of a case of it all happened in the midfield, James.
It did all happen in the midfield, and I think that really bears into mind the standings that we had out on track. Thomas, Warren, Carlsberg, really the top three that were quite dominant, I think, in Bahrain. It could be the same tonight, I think. Looking further down through the standings as well, Carlsberg fourth, Recon fifth, Shapalelli in sixth. I'm expecting a much better performance from these guys here tonight, and I know how Recon likes to leave it late in qualifying, as he always does in the final minute of qualifying, tries to set the fastest lap. I'm expecting more of the same, but there's a lot of good drivers in this lobby, and with the addition of Ash Best, who I think is a phenomenal driver on his day, if he can really deliver the goods as well, we should be in for a right treat.
Absolutely, he's making his way through the chicane now and onwards towards the final corner, obviously making his debut in the Toro Rosso today, and this sort of throws away the rumours about Mashiro having that Toro Rosso seat, and well, Ash Best has got it instead.
Yeah, Ash has got it instead, 20.7 his lap time currently out on track, and phenomenal, I think, to see that he's just about 300ths off his teammate as well, and should be interesting to see how he gets on.
Absolutely, and it's always a bit of a nervy time to make your debut. I remember making my debut in league racing in a Toro Rosso at Monza, of all places. I would have had third if I didn't speed into pit lane. You know, it happens. It happens. But yeah, Rafa coming into the pits then after his bit of a short stint on those hard tyres, it has to be said. But we've still got 11 cars out on track, which is always great to see. Navy currently the last of the runners at the moment with a 1:21.2, but again, not really much to look into at the moment, as drivers will be trying to fine-tune their setups ahead of today's race.
Yeah, and I'm looking on Recon, for example, at the minute, and the Renault is coming round towards turn 9, that very tricky turn 9, where if you go just that slight bit wide, you can get caught, and you can pick it up in validation, like Recon has just, funny enough, done. And he's a tenth and a half up in the middle sector. I was just about to say he might go quicker than Rafa, but no. That's been blown totally out of proportion now.
Well, I'm just seeing we've got Rafa and Toxic in the pits. I'm wondering if it's worth seeing if you can rush down there, James, and see if you can grab them for a quick chat in this practice session as we see Recon making his way around the final corner. 1:19.579 is his best time so far. Can he improve on that? He can, but it was an invalidation. It would have gone the quickest time actually with a 1:19.2, but somewhere out on that lap he did invalidate it. Third place, Shapalele. Leon Bentley there in fourth place, with Carlsbury fifth. Cass is in sixth, with Calsper in seventh. Sean is in eighth. Ashbest ninth. Toxic in 10th. Warren is in 11th place. We have a Renault off. That is Navy in turn 12. So he's had a little bit of a moment there. Luckily it was off stream, so we can spare his blushes just a little bit. But I don't think he'll be happy about that one. I think he might make his way back towards the pit lane. No,
what's Rafa's PSN name?
Well, I was just going to say it's probably easier if you just do it on the driver's screen. You can probably scroll up to him, and could you not do that? You can view profile. As if you're going to spectate them, you can view profile and you can invite them that way.
It's all gone wrong. Right, Toxic's coming in anyways. Dearing me.
Oh, it's always good. First night with a new stream, it all goes horribly wrong. First connection drops on my end, then James can't invite certain drivers. It's just well, actually, Rafa's gone back out on track anyway, so you missed your chance there. He's not interested.
Toxic's out as well.
Toxic's out.
He is.
Toxic's out on an outlap, but, well, they say never speak and drive, but apparently Toxic wants to do that. Toxic, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, it's pretty weird seeing you out on track at the moment. As I can see, you're just trying to let drivers through.
So we won't multitask.
I did say us drivers, we can't speak and talk and drive at the same time. You see, I can't even speak and speak at the same time. But I'll just make this quick. Spanish Grand Prix, then pretty balanced track in terms of high-speed corners and straights. How difficult will it be to set up the car today?
Oh, pretty hard. If you don't already have a setup coming into tonight, then you're pretty much on the back foot. You need to make a pretty big compromise from me anyways in terms of straight line speed to make sure that you can actually go through the fast corners and keep high speed. So that's how I look at it anyways, but I think every driver has a different approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And your targets and your aims today for the Spanish Grand Prix?
To not spin and the top 5 would be nice.
Top 5 would be nice. Well, that's great. We'll leave you to the rest of your race sim, Toxic. Thank you very much for joining us, and good luck in today's race.
Thank you very
Now,
much.
James, it's very brave actually to go out there and have a conversation with us whilst you're driving the car, but that's something we like to see. Just remember, if you do want to have a chat with us, make sure you've got the correct party settings. We don't want to be talking to you and then just a moment and minute or two of silence. That's not what we like. But just make sure your party settings are in the correct order before you join our lovely commentary box. But yeah, good words from Toxic there. He was just highlighting the fact that it is going to be a challenge to set up the car. You've got to find that compromise. I think we're going to be hearing that a lot today.
I think we're going to see a common theme in the interviews, the guys that we do get in, of course. And I think Toxic was quite brave and well-spoken in his interview as well. Fantastic to hear him, as Rafa has just gone quicker with a 19.2 out on track. But Toxic, I think, is probably one of the ones that might be a bit underlooked tonight. I've been watching him in League of Europe, and honestly, his racing is getting better and better week on week. And in Spain, he certainly produced a good comeback performance in League of Europe. If you can apply that to tonight, I can see him right up there.
Yeah, Recon Toxic at the moment, 8th place in the driver standings at this moment in time, which means, well, he finished 8th place in Bahrain. Nice and easy, that one. So he'll be looking for top 5, he said, tonight. So we'll see how that all goes down. Rafa, whilst we were talking, has set a new fastest lap of this practice session, a 1:19.2. Recon there in the pit lane at the moment, 1:19.5 on the hard tyres. I'm really expecting big things for Recon today.
Yeah, Recon currently out on track. He's just came back out on track, in fact, 19.5. On a set of hard compound of tyres, you can see he's done 9 laps on those set of hards as well. Don't bear that in mind. Do bear that in mind, though, because we will see different times in qualifying than to the practice session. Guaranteed. So if you're wondering that these guys are a lot slower than normal, don't be, because it's not qualifying. Simple as that.
Absolutely, and some of these drivers will be doing race sims as well to really get into the groove and get into the mix of things. As Rafa goes quicker yet again, a 1:19.1 from him to put himself at the top of the table as he makes his way down towards turn 1. Well, what? Sorry, you spotted Chapalele goes quickest now, 1:19.0. So don't be surprised to see a 1:18 at this moment in time. I think it'll be coming up very, very shortly. 25 minutes or 25 and a half minutes left of this practice session, and Chapalele tops the tables with Rafa in second and Recon in third. That is your top 3 so far.
Good practice session so far from the majority of the guys out on track, and obviously Chapalele going quicker than Rafa. We should see that common theme, I think, continue between the two Germans. Looking at Toxic, who, funny enough, has just came across the line to set a 19.6 in 4th position in this practice session. And honestly, I have a good feeling about tonight. This should be a good race, but once you get caught in that DRS train, if anybody gets caught in it, you're pretty much done for, I think, in terms of the race. DRS train always interferes with drivers out here.
Well, it does indeed, and with such a high aero track as well, dirty air can be a topic for today. So the last thing you want to do is be stuck behind the driver, so you've got to find the right strategy as well. And speaking of strategy, James, I'm thinking it's going to be a 1-stop. I can't see many drivers doing 2 stops today.
I can't see drivers doing 2 stops either. I think, honestly, it should be a 1-stop strategy. If drivers do decide to go onto a medium compound of tyres, they should last probably to around the halfway stage and then go onto a set of hard compound of tyres. If anybody, though, chooses to go soft compound of tyres, you're really done for within the first 6 or 7 laps out on track, and you will make that 2-stop work for sure. But 2 stops definitely will lose you. I've seen it on average around here. Losing it on a set of softs costs you about 5 seconds within the race. Not that great. Recon goes quicker, 18.9.
Yep, first 1:18 of the day, and I can guarantee you it will not be the last as he makes his way and negotiates through turn 2 and round towards turn 3. We should probably point out as well that last race's driver of the day, as voted for by the drivers, was Thomas, and it's no surprise to see why. He completely dominated that race, James.
Yeah, he totally dominated the race, and to be honest, on his debut as well, it was a phenomenal performance by the Lithuanian man. Coming out on top from Warren in second and Kalsper in third. We could see more of the same tonight if he does attend, and I'm sure he will. Rafa goes quicker with an 18.8. Thomas, though, should be the one to beat tonight, judging by race 1. But Spain is a totally different track, and it's a much quicker track. It's more high aero. A lot for the drivers to think about tonight.
Absolutely, we're just seeing Carlsbury tackle turn 9 onwards now towards turn 10. It's a little bit of a DRS run down towards that harsh braking zone, slowest corner on the track here, as you'll see plenty of yellow flags in this session, but that is just cars getting out of the way of each other. We've only really had 1 spin at the moment, and that was earlier on in the session, and who spun as
Navy.
It was Navy, wasn't it? Yes. I was thinking that, as apparently Robert Kubica has set a lap time. Oh, that's Mays, that's why. So 13 drivers at this moment in time. So that's not a bad turnout for a practice session, I have to say. And if that's the case, we're expecting a couple more people to join in the race. So it should be a good turnout for tonight.
Should be a fantastic turnout. I'm expecting 17, 18, hopefully maybe even a full grid tonight. You never know.
You never know. Fingers crossed. Let's see how it all pans out then. At the moment, it is still Rafa on top, 118.8 with Recon in second place. And again, on those medium tyres, and we'll start to see the compounds from every driver get softer and softer as we go through this session, as it starts to rubber up. Just over 21 minutes ago in this practice session. And for our first practice session, James, I don't think it's going too badly.
It's not going too badly at all. I've just spotted somebody that is in the pits who wanted an interview. Dill Warren.
Well, let's get him in. You run down to the pit lane, James. You grab a hold of him and
I've literally got him.
Shove the mic into his face. That's what you need to do. But
don't want to do that. Goodness me, I'm not like that.
Well, you need to be. You need to be ferocious and fierce in getting those driver interviews. That is for sure. As Sean comes across the line and starts a new lap, 126 there, but I'm sure that was not a flying lap. Let's see the fitted tyres. Well, at the moment, Leon Bentley has set 13 laps on a set of the medium tyres, and that should give us a good indication of what's going to happen in terms of strategy. Obviously, there's 33 laps ahead. If Bentley can make those tyres last 13, 14 laps, then, you know, it's going to be hard tyres towards the end. They could easily manage 20 laps at that point.
Yeah, hards will definitely be the case towards the end of the race. And I think, honestly, with Schiaparelli as well, also setting on the same time, he's now into a set of hard compound of tyres. But he was setting 13 laps as well on that set of mediums, or he's done 13 laps running on those tyres. And honestly, the drivers are pretty much going about their practice session as they would in the race. And I think it is going to bear in mind, we're going to bear in mind that this should be accurate compared to the rest. Rafa's going quicker, 18.5.
18.5.
Getting down towards the 17s.
Yeah, getting closer and closer, aren't we? If we're lucky enough to see some soft tyre running towards the end of this session, that would be awesome. But of course, that's entirely up to the drivers as the yellow flag is there just for the Red Bull. I believe that's of Toxic, just getting out of the way of other drivers behind. And with only 13 drivers in this session, you find it a lot easier for drivers to get out of the way. And you find more often than not that some drivers will be in the pits for quite some time as well, just waiting for the track to get clearer and clearer. There was a point at the start of the session, James, where we had all 13 cars out on track, and actually no one was really getting in each other's way. It's good to see.
It is very good to see, and I think if the same principle is taken towards qualifying as well, we should see the same in qualifying, but obviously we're going to have more drivers. So really, getting the space out on track is key, but also being that final car across the line, hopefully it might be Recon out on track that I'm hoping could take pole position, because you know how late he is in qualifying in terms of setting a lap, especially on that set of soft compound of tyres which he's used to. Just watching him there, he's just dipped the wheel into the gravel through turn 8, but with an 18.8, currently second in practice, very good for him going forward.
Absolutely, you can just see on that steering wheel there, he's on his 15th lap in this practice session, and with 33 laps of racing still to come, and of course you've got the qualifying laps as well, some of these drivers might be exceeding 60 laps done tonight, which is almost full race distance of the actual Grand Prix.
Yeah, they will be exceeding that indeed, and I think honestly it is, once again, we're going to bear in mind that this should be accurate towards the race, and this really should be, I think we've got, what, 35 laps if I'm not mistaken around here in Spain? 33. Oh, I was close. Close.
You were close. But
close but no cigar.
Close but no cigar. Well, we've got Bentley, who has done 13 laps on those medium tyres already. So he's almost half race distance at this moment in time, if that makes sense. Quarter. I could have used quarter, but, you know, spur of the moment, that's what I've gone with. Half of a half. It works.
Half of a half.
Half of a half. It works. It absolutely works. Some drivers coming into the pit lane now, no doubt to make some tweaks to their setup and maybe put on a new set of tyres. And of course, it all depends on what sort of tyre strategy they've brought to practice session. Of course, there is that little bit where you can bring a less aggressive tyre setup towards practice and then go more aggressive for quali and the race. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. The only problem is you might get less valuable data than if you kept it consistent.
Yeah, you will get less valuable data, but as long as the drivers keep it consistent in terms of lap times and in terms of the times that they are setting out on track, it shouldn't really be a problem, to be honest. Looking at everyone going around out on track, we're not seeing any blistering practice times. Still going though, he's improving. He is out on the lap, so unfortunately I couldn't get him for an interview when he shot out before I decided to get to the microphone. But he's going to set a very good lap here. He goes second, 18.6, nice lap.
Yeah, and he's had to struggle through that recovery, hasn't he, with that wrist that he injured, and he's been doing a great job. It's still a bit of a bother to him, but setting 18.6s like that, you'll think he's already fully recovered.
You will think that, for sure, and honestly, his performance in Bahrain definitely proved that he was coming back to something like his original best when he did join, and I think, honestly, out on track, still should be right there or thereabouts once again. To be honest, I think, didn't he set a pole position last season, if I'm not mistaken, or win the race here last season?
That's a very good question, James, and unfortunately, it's going to take me too long to find that graphic. However, I'm going to take your word for it and say yes, De Warren did have a strong start to the last season, but it just all unravelled for him, unfortunately, towards the end there. We've got some drivers leaving at the moment. Rafa and Shafalele have decided to call it time on their practice session, and for Rafa, 118.5, not a bad starting point at all. Ash Best has also called it a day in practice, only setting lap times on the hard tyres, and I believe only 4 laps on them. So 4 laps might be good enough for Ash Best, just to fine-tune that setup and to convince himself, yep, that's the one I want.
Probably just got last-minute practice in, I think, with him. Obviously, in practice, we would have been expecting him to set better lap times if he was to do the full session, of course. But it's an opportunity for these drivers to fine-tune the setup, and that's what we're talking about here, and that's why we're covering the action. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it on the channel as well. I think this is our 502nd video that we've done on this channel.
That's a lot of videos.
Unbelievable.
And wow, that is incredible, and it's amazing to feel that I've probably been involved in at least half of them. That's scary. That is scary.
I've probably been involved in them, to be honest, about a fifth, I would say.
A fifth of the, yeah, that's pretty accurate, I would say. But then again, you do more on TTTV as well than I do nowadays. You do F1, League 1 and League 2. I'm pretty sure you commentate over F2 as well, and you also have a role in CRC. So you do a lot more than I do nowadays.
I do a lot more. It's like I'm not really missed, to be honest, on this channel. But obviously, I couldn't be more happier, I think, here in TTG. And covering the action out on track, I just want to cover the action. I just want to be as best as commentator as possible. And I know Kieran has been around a long time compared to where I have been. But it's good learning from a very good commentator, I can tell.
Oh, stop it, you. I didn't, there's your 20 quid for saying that. Thank you very much. But, yeah, I mean, I've been around since, December 2017 on the channel. That's a long, long time. And back then,
I didn't even start commentating then.
Well, that was season 7. We're on to season 17 now. This is my 11th season here in TTL. It's just incredible to see how far it's come, and now we're live streaming practice sessions. It's just amazing, really. And I also want to give a big shout out to Honey Badger, who is almost our director in TV. He's pretty much telling us what to do, what to say, what graphics we're showing, and he's in control of the live stream at this moment in time. So this is his chance to give us a little bit of practice and to show off some of those graphics, those beautiful, beautiful graphics that have been made. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed tonight's race, Honey. Hopefully we don't mess about and screw up too much for you. But yeah, fingers crossed. 13 minutes to go in the session. Rafa and I believe Shapalele have joined back into the practice session. Rafa is now back out onto track with a 118.5. I did see someone just improve there, and it was Carsbury. P7 now, 119.2 as the other McLaren of Bentley comes out onto track.
Yeah, just catching on board with the end of Carsbury's lap. Very, very nice on the lap, and especially through the final sector and through that final chicane, hitting it to absolute perfection. And that's what you need. You don't want to take off. You don't want to take too much curb, because otherwise you'll either invalidate. Otherwise, as Recon goes quicker for an 18.1 on a set of mediums. Wow.
That's not bad at all, really, is it, for Recon there? The Dutchman always finds something else up his sleeve. Just when you rule him out, he absolutely puts in a lap time to remember, and I'm going to be honest with you, he's my pick for pole position today. He's just such a quick one-lap driver. Race pace is also pretty quick as well. I mean, he is the reigning champion. He's proven it on track, but so many of those pole positions have helped him and guided him to those victories. He's just absolutely quick in this one.
He's so consistent as well on performance. I think usually when you see him out on track, he always produces those performances, as I just see Carsbury take a completely different version of the track. They're the MotoGP version. But yeah, Recon, very consistent, and to be honest, he has been the pinnacle, I think, of what TTL F1 is all about. He's the defending champion coming in to this season. Didn't really have the best race in the first race, but there's a lot of consistency that can be proven, and we saw last season, I think 4 drivers going into the final couple of races, about 20 points apart. Recon only coming out on top, I think, in the final race of the season. That's what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just a great driver to watch as well. Rafa, I'm sure, will be pushing him all the way, but we can't forget about Thomas, who won the last race, who got pole position in the last race. Be interesting to see how he gets along with just 11 minutes of practice to go. Just to give you a quick rundown of the stream schedule, if you like. The practice stream will end, which will give myself and James a little bit of a 5-minute break before we'll be back live for qualifying and the Spanish Grand Prix. 33 laps here. And I hope you can join us and hope you can stick around for the whole thing. It'll be great to have you along. Rafa just improves their 118.4 now on a set of medium tyres. There's a Williams coming across the line. I believe that is Shapalele. 119.050 from him so far. I'm just having a look out on track about how many cars there are. I count 8. That could be wrong though.
There is...
Well, there's 9 now.
Yeah,
We've got a Renault coming out of the pit lane. And that is Recon. Actually, Recon... He tricked me there. I thought he was going to come out on a set of soft tyres, but he's just changed back to mediums. I thought that was the moment we see a qualifying run, but not just yet. I think we might have to wait till qualifying to see qualifying runs, James.
We will have to wait until then. I'm going to try and nick another interview in. Let's get Colsbury in, because I know he said in the comments, and I've just literally looked on the comments of the stream, he wants an interview. He's not on a lap currently. And he's still in the pit. I'll try and get him in.
That's good. Yeah, we always prefer it when they're in the pit lane, not driving and talking at the same time. But let's see if he'll join into our lovely commentary box here. We're just over 9 minutes to go. It is still Recon at the top of the table, with Bentley in second place, and Rafa rounds out the top 3. We're riding on board with Bentley at this moment as we go through turn 9 onwards now towards turn 10. And again, it's a heavy braking zone, the harshest braking zone on the track, and the slowest corner as well here at the Circuit de Catalunya through 11 and 12. The undulations there can unbalance the car if you're not careful. And you've just got to watch out for the traction here as we make our way onwards now towards turn 13 through 14 and 15, which will then close out the lap. And just as I'm commentating over this last part of the lap, I pre-called it. Bentley's coming into the pit lane. What a shock. What a shock.
He was well down on this time, I think, as well, when he was coming into the pit, so it really wouldn't have mattered. But an 18.4 from him. Rafa only about 500ths off in terms of practice times currently. And again, I bear in mind as Rafa actually goes wide through into turn 3, that was. Don't take this on face value, because qualifying is always going to be that little bit quicker. You should see from Recon lap currently, if he goes on for a set of mediums in qualifying, I would say you would see a 17.3, 17.4 around that point.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think we could see 116s in quali, because you've got 6 to 8 tenths difference between the soft and the medium tyres, and then you've got the fact that the qualifying track is always going to be quicker. Because obviously it's in the dry. Well, it could be in the dry. Hopefully it is in the dry. But it's a more rubbered in track, so in theory you get a little bit more rubber down on the track here. Of course, do remember that it is our first stream doing it like this, so there might be a couple of niggling problems, but we will try and iron them out as best as we can. As Sean gets a little bit onto the grass through the final corner, Navy actually improves by 0.8 of a second there to get to a 118.7. And as we head towards the final few minutes of practice here, we can see Calsper out on the soft tyres, as is Mays. Warren out there on the medium tyres, so not willing to go and give away what is what his qualifying pace is going to be like. That is for sure.
Yeah, definitely not. And I think, honestly, we should be seeing Toxic as well coming out on the set of softs. But Calsper is a very interesting one to set of softs. This is where we should get some sort of resemblance, I think, between a qualifying time and between a practice time. On a set of softs, Calsper should be going into the 16s, hands down, quicker of the rest of the field currently. But in this practice session, it will be different.
Absolutely. Calsper then onto a flying lap here, which is going to give us a glimpse into what sort of qualifying times we will be able to see here as we make our way now down towards turn 1 through turn 2 now. and just trying to keep it nice and tidy through turn 3, this long right-hander, which on these soft tyres you can go through their full throttle onwards now towards turn 4, braking hard and using that curve on the left-hand side to open up the corner. Looking good through turn 4 here, now towards turn 5, goes downhill as you start braking, so of course it's very easy to lock a front brake there as you're slowing the car down through 6 and now towards turn 7 and 8. And as I'll say on the proper hot lap in qualifying, that undulation is going to catch out quite a few drivers. I can guarantee you that through the flying corner of turn 9, almost a little bit of oversteer from Calsper as he makes his way now down towards turn 10, braking just before the 100-metre board, slowing the car down, and now onwards towards 11 and through turn 12. And then we'll get through towards turn 30, which is a little bit of a quicker right-hander, but it's downhill again. Watching the sleeping policeman on the inside through 14 and 15. You can be cautious through 14, attack turn 15, and then onwards through 16 there. You've got a little bit of a bump, but now it's straight line all the way towards that start-finish line. And Calsberg goes quickest, 17.4, which leads me to believe, James, that it's going to be even quicker than that. We are definitely going to be seeing some 1:15s. I'm calling it now. 15.9, 15.8.
Yeah, 1:15.9, 1:15.8. I think 1.5 seconds in terms of face value, in terms of the times, I think we're going to see in terms of the softs there. But Calsper going quicker, about 0.7 of a second, just over ahead of Recon in this practice session. He should be happy with that, and I'm sure that would have been a good lap for him out on track. And he might be one of the ones to watch. And certainly, the last season, he was within one chance of a shout of taking the title from Recon in the end. Obviously, it was mathematically impossible towards the end. But since he's joined TTL F1, Calsper has really been a shining light, and is just another one of our drivers that has got a lot of talent. And I think that's what we can really call our TTL F1 this year, talented.
Yeah, without a doubt, for sure. Navy's out there on a set of the medium tyres. Recon there he is on a set of the soft tyres. He's got a Toro Rosso behind him. That is Calsper, who's already set his sort of qualifying run, if you like. But Recon here will be setting a qualifying time before this practice session ends. Here he goes then, the Toro Rosso peels into the pit lane, and Recon goes onwards now to start a flying lap here at the Circuit de Catalunya. I'm expecting this one to be a 1:16, in all honesty. This is going to be a quick one.
This should be a very quick one as he comes down towards turn 1, and he should be going in around Calsper's sort of lap time. He has got a car ahead, I think, out on track, which is a Haas just in front of him, which leads me to believe that's not... Yeah, it is a Haas. It is Sean. I was going to say Sean. It looked like a Renault to me when I looked at the mini-map, but still. Recon on a lap, and he's coming through towards the end of the middle set... Well, towards halfway through the middle section, halfway through the lap. And looking so far, it's looking quite good for him out on track.
Yeah, absolutely, as we make our way now in towards that horrid chicane. Well, I call it horrid chicane. That undulation change, I never mastered it. Always spun through there as we make our way through turn 9 onwards now towards turn 10, braking heavily there for, as I say, the slowest part of the track as we now make our way in towards 11 through turn 12, onwards towards turn 13. And I say turn 10 is the slowest part of the track. You would be surprised in thinking that this chicane you can actually take a little bit quicker than the turn 10. Turn 10's almost a hairpin as well. Recon's abandoned that one. I'm sure he would have loved to have straight lined that in the actual qualifying session, but not today. He'll have to abandon that qualifying lap, and unfortunately a chance of getting the quickest lap time in practice. So far that has gone to Calsper as Mays has retired from the practice session with just over 3, or just under 3 minutes to go, I should say. We've got Calsper who's around just before turn 5.
Carlsbury.
That's right, Carlsbury. Yeah, again, I've done it again. Carlsbury there around just before turn 4. So not quite sure what happened there actually. Just looked like he dropped it on his own.
Yeah, I think he got caught on the outside curb and he's just tried to recover the car, and obviously the car has then gone into a bit of a half spin and he's gone for a bit of opposite lock, trying to recover it, and it just hasn't happened for him. I've seen that before around there in turn 5. It can catch people out.
Absolutely, so he'll be looking to try and at least get one more lap on the board. Rafa will be doing the same as he makes his way down towards turn 5 here. We have got a McLaren coming towards the final chicane. That is Carlsbury. Did I get that right, James?
You did.
Yeah, okay, good.
Lando Norris.
Good, good. Yeah, Lando Norris. Whatever you want to... They call him Lando Norris in his spare time. I'm sure they do. Sean's making his way through the chicane. Almost now towards the final quarter. 4/10 up on his previous best through the middle sector. Onwards now towards that start-finish line. And let's see what sort of laps we can get. The 118.7 there from Sean on the soft tyres. So he's looking pretty comfortable there with the car set up, and he knows where maybe more time can be gained.
Yeah, I think he can, and honestly, with a 9/10 improvement, nearly a second improvement, in fact, in that Haas, he should be feeling quite confident, maybe to sneak into the top 10, I'm thinking, but in terms of his lap time currently, and obviously with the extended drivers, as Cass has gone, and Sean loses that actually through turn 5, very similar to what Palsbury did, and Cass, 18.2 goes third in practice, but we're going to see a lot of improvements in a lot of time, I think, towards the end of the session here.
Absolutely. Just under a minute to go as we've got lots of cars on outlaps. We've got Cass, who's flying now onwards towards turn 4 for what should be his flying lap here. Obviously, I don't think the drivers will be pushing as hard. They'll be taking a little less risk here, maybe a little bit of sandbagging involved as well, but they'll want to see how quick they are on the soft tyres, and as well as that, they might want to see what their race strategy is going to be like on the soft tyres rather than their qualifying run.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the soft compound of tyres, the drivers will be looking to try and optimise that time towards qualifying. Of course, the times are going to be quicker. Dill Warren, by the way, did make a mistake, I think, out of turn 1. He didn't pick up an invalidation. I'm not sure what has happened to him. He's on a set of soft compound tyres, but that looks to me as if he's got gravel on the rear.
Gravel on the rear? Well, that is...
Or certainly kicking up marbles, at least.
Yeah, I think
might be seeing things.
I think he's just having a little bit of fun, to be honest with you, as he makes his way through turn 4. Yeah, he is. He knows we're watching him. That's the thing now. He knows it, heading down towards turn 5. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Checkered flag is out then, and we've got a Haas coming towards the line. I believe that was of Rafa, who's now taken the checkered flag, a 118.0. Next to come towards the line will be the Toro Rosso of Calsper on a flying lap on the soft tyres. Let's see what they're going to be like then through the final corner. Nope, we're not going to see. He's come into the pit lane, clipped the wall on the way through. Luckily for him, there's no damage in these qualifying sessions, just so that if you do crash into the wall, it's not the end of the world. Chapelele then goes 5th fastest with a 118.2. The Renault there of Recon, 118.1 on a set of the soft tyres there. As we've got Mercedes well off the track there. In fact, that's so far off the track, that's actually off at turn 10, not off at the pit lane. So that's quite an interesting way to do it.
Goodness me. Just seen a right crash between Sean and Toxic. Goodness me.
Well,
that's the end of practice for you.
Well, to be honest with you, practice can be working against you when we head towards the next race. So they've still got to be careful. They've still got to take that into account, as we're probably just running down the clock here with Warren doing some donuts. Not advised here, but there you go. But the fastest person of this session, Calsper, with a 117.4. So hopefully you have enjoyed that practice session. We'll be going towards qualifying and the race very, very shortly. So make sure you do subscribe down to the channel. Make sure as well you hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next live stream going up. James and I are going to take a little bit of a break and then we'll be back live with all the action. So make sure you do hit that notification bell so you don't miss that live stream. In the meantime, we'll see you in about 5 minutes. Until then, thank you very much for watching. I've been Kieran McGinley.
I've been James Head.
Take care of yourselves, and we will see you in a short while.